Hello, and welcome to this tutorial on CTC's MEP Productivity Pack for Revit. In this video, we will see how the Productivity Pack's universal lighting fixtures can be either face or level hosted. Let's take a look at these two wall lights. Both are clearly to be installed on this wall. If we select them, we can see that they are both the same family and the same type. However, one of these instances is hosted to the wall and one is not. If we move the wall away, one follows, and the other remains behind. The one that followed is clearly hosted to the wall. We can drag it back and forth along the wall, but we cannot move it away from the wall face, and we cannot rotate it. The other light is clearly unhosted. We can move it however we like, and we can rotate it however we like. It is an unhosted fixture. How can one family and one type be both hosted and unhosted? Let's delete these so we can place new instances and learn how. Let's invoke the command to place a light fixture, and let's stick with this UW2 wall light. The universal lighting fixtures are configured out of the box to be hosted to a face. This is a wall light, so that face should be a wall or other vertical face. Place on vertical face is selected. If my cursor is out here, I cannot place an instance because there is no vertical face to which I can host. That's expected. If I bring my cursor near the wall, a placement preview of the fixture appears aligned with the wall, and I can click to place the fixture. It will also automatically align to a curved wall or an angled wall. Let's open this section view. Fixture elevation is controlled by Revit's built-in parameter, elevation. It's set to 7 feet, and we can confirm by drawing a dimension. We can increase elevation or decrease it. Ceiling fixtures are similar. Up here is a ceiling. Let's choose a ceiling-based lighting fixture, say this S6 linear pendant, change to place on face, and select the ceiling. The fixture is hosted to the ceiling. As the ceiling moves, so does the fixture. The elevation parameter is disabled because the fixture's host is parallel to the level. Everything about this family so far is how most Revit content works and should be expected and familiar to most users. Suppose, though, that we're working with an architect that doesn't use Revit. Here are all the same walls and ceiling, but this time they're not really walls. They're 2D lines linked in from AutoCAD. Now, if we try to host the light to the wall, we can't. There's no actual model element to which we can host. The same is true for the ceiling. Let's learn how we can still place the universal lighting fixtures on a plan such as this. Let's invoke the command to place a light fixture and go back to our UW2 light. Before we place any instance, take a look over here at the Properties palette. All universal light fixtures which are capable of being configured for either hosted or unhosted use will contain these two parameters, place on face and place on level. If these two parameters do not exist, the family is not capable of switching between hosted and unhosted. By default, place on face is checked, but we don't want to place on a face because there's no vertical face in a 2D plan. So let's click place on level. Place on face will automatically uncheck. The family is now configured to be placed on a level instead of a face, but the placement mode up here still says vertical face. Let's change this to place on work plane, and then the placement plane menu will appear in the options bar. Here, we must select the level that is associated with the view that we're working in. Revit is pretty smart about this, and it will usually default to the level of the view, as it's done here. This view is indeed associated with the level Dynamic Legends and Groups. If it doesn't, or if you need to place it on a reference plane that you've drawn, just change it here, and Revit will remember your selection next time. You don't have to reselect it each time. Now, the family is configured to be placed on a level. We've told Revit to place it on the level and verified our placement plane, and now if we click, the family will appear wherever we want. Although there are no vertical faces for hosting, we can still pretty easily align to the linked DWG. While the placement command is active, press the spacebar, and the instance will rotate orthogonally. If you hover your cursor over a line from the plan and press spacebar, in addition to the orthogonal directions, Revit will also snap parallel and perpendicular to the line. So let's rotate until it's perpendicular and place. The same is true for curved lines. Revit will snap to parallel and perpendicular to the tangent of the curve. Let's try this again on the ceiling. Let's choose the same suspended fixture, S6, change to place on level, be sure we're placing on the correct work plane, and place the instance. Now let's take a look at how elevation is controlled. For vertical face-based elements, as we saw, elevation is controlled by the built-in elevation parameter. For the ceiling fixture, there's no need to control elevation since it's hosted to the ceiling. For the unhosted fixtures, let's first take a look at the wall fixture in section. The built-in elevation parameter is disabled as expected since it's hosted to the level. So, we control elevation by the parameter place on level elevation. This fixture is currently set at 7 feet. We can draw a dimension from the level to confirm, 7 feet. To change the elevation, edit place on level elevation. Now how about that ceiling fixture? Let's take a look at it in section. Because this is a 2D plan, there's no ceiling here that we can reference. Instead, we must tell the fixture what the ceiling height is, with this parameter here, ceiling height. It's set to 9 feet, and we can draw a dimension to confirm. To change the elevation of this fixture, edit the ceiling height parameter. Suspension length and its associated settings still work as they normally would. See the user manual and tutorial video on suspension settings. Before we go, let's take a look at one more thing. Back in Plan View, let's try to place an instance of another fixture. This time, let's choose UW1. You can see as we approach a wall, the placement preview will appear. But let's reconfigure this to be placed on level. Notice now that there is no placement preview. This is because Revit generated the preview based on the instance parameter settings at the time the placement command was initiated. We changed the instance parameter settings, and the preview is no longer valid. After we place any instance, however, the preview will regenerate. Some fixtures behave this way, and some don't. If you find that you do not have a placement preview, it may be helpful to first place a throwaway instance, then continue to place your fixtures as needed, then go back and delete that first instance. If you're working on a project where you need to use all of the fixtures in an unhosted configuration, there is a way to reconfigure the default behavior to unhosted. See the user manual for a detailed explanation. Well, now you know how to use the MEP Productivity Pack's electrical content when hosted to a face and when hosted to a level. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out our other tutorial videos linked in the user manual.